Thank you, Michael. Hello, everybody. Um, I just want to say from the American Airlines Arena and our very first virtual draft ever in the history of this game, I felt tonight that we did very well. And we're very pleased and very happy, with our pick with Precious. Um, we were looking, for bigs like him that were quick, that were athletic, that could run, that could handle. Obviously, he's an explosive player, plays above the rim. Um, we just were very very impressed with him, and he was in our wheelhouse. And when we had an opportunity to draft him with his name still on the board, we're very excited. We think we have probably one of the most underrated players uh, in the draft. And I think most likely, you could argue this with people and debate it, that he may be the most athletic player in the draft. So he has a real good upside, a lot of talent, and we're just very excited to have him. And I think he fits in perfectly with how we want to play. He fits in perfectly with Spo's system on defense. He can play four positions defensively. He gets out on the break. He's a rim runner. So I'm just excited that at 20 that we could find a player that is that good and of that kind of quality.
All right, Coach. Our first question will be from Tim Reynolds. Go ahead, Tim.
Good evening, Coach.
Hello, Tim.
Um, how much? I mean, Penny was only with you for a short time. Mike,
Right.
of course, was with the Heat for a few years. How much did you pick their brains in the last few weeks about what you're getting with this young man?
Well, I didn't pick anybody's brains except Adam Simon, Chet Kammerer,
Okay, how much did they pick the Memphis Heat guys' brains?
Eric Amsler, and Keith Askins. Primarily the four of them, in the war room, for the last 2 weeks here, uh, and for the last 6 or 7 months, going back to when everything was postponed and no tournaments. These guys are constantly, on synergy, on film, looking at players, talking, Zoom meetings, all the things that we're doing now in life to run our businesses and try to stay abreast and try to normalize it as much as possible. But they did a great job, I think, of canvassing everybody with the reports. And so over the last couple of weeks, I've gotten more involved in the draft and got to look at a lot of the players that were in our wheelhouse and and spent a lot of time watching film on Precious. So they talked to Penny, I think Mike Miller, all of those people in Memphis, and not only that, but they go back into high school in the AAU and do a lot of research. This kid is a great kid, great character. Uh, Comes from Nigeria. He's been playing for 6 years. And has really made incredible improvements. And we feel like we have a very mature, 20-year-old, 21-year-old, and uh, great upbringing. And so I think they did their due diligence, from that standpoint. There's nothing there, that is going to stop this kid from really improving, from the standpoint of his work ethic and stuff. So I was convinced in our discussions and meetings that he could be one of the players that we would pick. He was
Coach,
right there.
to follow up real quick, he's going to be in his first training camp practice in about 12
Yeah.
days. I mean, everyone knows that rookies this year, they're going to face a very steep curve, obviously. Can you expect this kid to give you something right away on December 22nd, or is that too much to ask of any rookie this year, do you think?
No, I don't think it is. I don't think it's too much to ask. The only thing I think that you have to watch out for is the fact that they probably haven't played uh, a lot, a 5-on-5, but when you look at their schedules, players now that know they're going to be in the draft and they know that their next job is an NBA job, over the last 6 months and having to deal with, being sheltered in place and having to watch where you go and all the things we have to do, in our life to stay safe and healthy. These guys get up at 6 a.m. in the morning and they lift weights for an hour. Then they go and work out for 2 hours on the court. Then they might have breakfast then, and then they'll take a nap, and then they'll come back and shoot and play basketball. Then they'll come back at night. And Precious is that kind of guy. And so, as much as they might not have run up and down the court, they're young and they're healthy. We'll make sure that he's I think he's already in great condition, from watching the guy play. That I think you're right from one extent. Where are they ready to really help you? Well, if you watch him play, he could almost help anybody if you want to get out and pressure and run and open up the floor, that kind of stuff. But we'll see. And it's going to be hard on every single draft choice to come in. But look, if you're hungry and you want to be in the NBA and you just got picked number 20 by the Miami Heat and there's a spot for you somewhere, then you'll compete for it and you'll get yourself as ready as you can.
Okay, our next question will be from Anthony Chang.
Hey Pat, what stood out to you guys regarding his workout with you, and was there anything that even surprised you guys after that session with him?
Well, I didn't see the workout. I've been watching a lot of film. I think the things that stand out. There's three things that stand out: his speed. He's a coast-to-coast player that comes off the board with tremendous explosiveness to get down the court. He can go rim to rim with the ball. He's a shot blocker. He's quick. I think what you see and is a real incredible athlete here that's young, that has a great upside. As I said, I think he's one of the most underrated players, and also I think he's probably maybe the most athletic player in the draft. And so he's long. He's got a 7'2" wingspan. He's got a 38-inch vertical. So from all those things, I think we knew even before they went and had a workout with him. From that standpoint. So even those workouts, I can remember a lot of them that I went to when you only get an hour or something, and the fact that you have to social distance, you can't talk to the guy, and they have him in one trainer, working them out. And that's not the kind of workout that somebody's going to really show you everything. In other words, you get to see somebody up close and personal, but you can't get up close and personal with them. But enough film study and enough talking to other people, I think you can get a pretty good handle on the player. This guy can play, and so what's his upside? We'll find out what his upside is going to be, but we're very excited that at 20, we can fill a spot. I think in the playoffs, there was a time when size hurt us, offensive rebounding, the paint, shot blocking, all of those things, that we might have somebody here that can fill that void.
And one more thing, I know he does a lot of other things well, but his potential as a shooter, what did you guys see in that aspect and what he can become in that area?
Well, one of the things about, athletic bigs, like him, is a lot of times they have instincts, guard instincts, perimeter instincts, and they probably even want to be a point guard. They want to be a three. And so I think, once he understands and comes into this league that his best position is probably going to be 4 or 5. And, we'll work with him, but he also, has some perimeter skills. He's a very good ball handler. He can tighten up on everything. Everything has to be tightened up. And, through repetition and repetition, he has the ability to shoot the ball from outside. Just like with Bam, when Bam came here, he had a limited menu of things that Coach Spo gave him in the beginning, so you didn't want to confuse him with too much stuff, and just let him play with great energy and rebound and defend and all of those things that come natural to him. So we'll do the same thing with Precious. We won't force him to be something that he's not, but I think we can get the best out of him. I don't think there's a better team in the league that develops players in a conscientious manner than we do. So I'm not saying that he's going to be a knockdown, 3-point shooter, but he has a nice stroke. But, in the NBA, that might not be the thing that we want from him in the beginning.
All right, our next question is from Ira Winderman.
Pat, it's always a wild ride on the draft night, chances to move up, to move down. I know you got the player you wanted, but how close were you to possibly moving up for someone else? And especially a lot of really intriguing names in the second round this year. And I'm sure you guys are already targeting pick number 61. How close are you to possibly adding another pick? Thank you.
Well, we're probably not going to add another pick, Ira, from that standpoint. We're still scanning the board, and I know that Adam and his crew will be on top of who they feel are the best players that are available, after the draft. But with so much uncertainty about the G League and the timing and exactly, how it's going to work, and when you're talking about two-way contracts, and then also you're talking about 10X contracts and things of that nature, and they really don't even have a schedule. They don't even know what the rules are, about the G League. So, I think what we want to do is we want to probably max out for training camp at 20 players, and then, we'll go from there. But we'll probably negotiate with a couple of guys after the draft.
Okay, our next question is from Ethan Skolnick.
Pat, some of the things that you're saying sound somewhat familiar to some of the things you said about Bam when you drafted him. I'm just curious, what are some of the differences in the two of those players, and do you see them eventually as players who can play together and be successful?
Absolutely. Bam's improvement over the last 3 years has just gone through the roof. He still has another level to go to. I think we all know how valuable he is to us in so many areas. There's no doubt in my mind that at some time in a game, as a coach, when you get really frustrated maybe with your defense and things aren't working, and teams are getting whatever they want inside, I think you can play both those guys together. I'm of the opinion you can, not for long periods of time, but only time will tell. You surround them with great playmakers and shooters, and let them go to work on the boards, and let them go to work on running the court, coast to coast, blocking shots, blitzing the ball. They're so quick. So I think that is a possibility. I'll leave that up to Spo, but I can see that happening, and I've seen it in this league already this year with very, very athletic players, who are mobile and can score, and they're vertical, with lobs and dunks and things like that, and so you'll just open up the court, and you'll start running a little bit more. So I think he's going to be a very exciting player, just like Bam. He was compared to him, as a matter of fact, in a lot of the comparisons, in the scouting reports and stuff. So I do think there's a chance that can happen, and I'll be the first to be excited to see it one day.
Thanks, Pat.
Okay. And our next question will be from Barry Jackson.
Hi, Pat. I know when we talked to you a month ago, you talked about the priority being keeping this team together in terms of your free agents, for signing them. In the next 3 weeks, would you also like to add a quality rotation piece from outside? You obviously have your full $9.3 million mid-level exception and a trade exception for the Memphis deal.
Yes. Well, that starts, tomorrow, and I'd like to run this thing back. When you think about the compressed schedule, I sort of look at, what happened around the middle of August when the playoffs started, where the intensity, everything intensified, in a big way from a competition standpoint. I think the seeding games were good to get, the team ready. We were 3-5 in those games, and I think coach was experimenting as much as he was trying to do anything else. So, but once it started in August and it ended in October, and it's going to start again in December, and it's going to end in July, you have almost 2 seasons where the competition at its best has been really compressed, from that standpoint. So I think running this team back, just keeping the continuity of what we had, and seeing what happens with our free agents, from that standpoint, that we will have some flexibility under the tax to be able to do some things. And so I don't know if we're going to use any of that stuff, Barry, but the fact that we have it there, if something presents itself, then we'll take a real good hard look at it.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take another question from Tim Reynolds.
Pat, you mentioned that it's now Thursday morning, so free agency does in fact start tomorrow. You're right. No rest for the weary, obviously. How hopeful are you in that quest about running it back? Obviously, you've got a point guard with a decision that he'll have to, he's going to have to make at some point. Do you believe that that's a fairly likely course of action, that you will come back largely intact from the team that left the bubble?
I'd like to. I have great faith in our guys. I think we have great chemistry. I think they have the same feeling themselves, but now we're getting down, to the business side of things, and I totally get it and totally understand, what free agency means to players. So the fact that the core of our team, is intact. Our young players are intact. Just the other day we fully guaranteed both Duncan and K9. So, with our free agents, we're going to sit down. We're going to really talk to them. I feel good about it, but you just never know what's going to happen, from that standpoint. But if we do, then I think, we're going to be in rhythm. We have a team that has chemistry, great chemistry. There's not going to be a lot of learning. It'll take Precious some time probably to get really indoctrinated to what, Spo wants to do. But I feel good about it. I feel confident that if we don't get everybody back, then we do have, as Barry mentioned, a number of ways to fortify the team or improve the team also.
You hinted at it right there, but I mean, is it possible that Spo could almost pick up where the team left off? I mean, I'm sure there'll be some refreshers, and you change things, of course, but can it largely, I mean, you've already had one 4.5-month break and came back and played. Can you pick it up where you left off in the bubble after 5 or 6 weeks away?
I think they can. I think that's one of the things about Spo and his playbook. It doesn't change too much. He's developed a style on both ends of the court, as you see that that he wants to play. It's a little bit complicated at times, but when you have guys that are have basketball IQs that are real high and are very skilled, that get them back in sync, other than getting their legs going, getting them in shape, but getting them in rhythm to play 5-on-5. I think that's one of the advantages of trying to run the team back instead of bringing a whole group of new players in. So we've been through that before, and sometimes it takes a long time to do that. So look, the challenge for everybody is that it's not going to be like the bubble. The bubble was not a cakewalk for anybody, but in the bubble, there was a real rhythm and routine of playing every 48 hours, and that is a perfect schedule for players to play, to recover, and to play and to recover, and not have 3 or 4 days off and get bored. So it's not going to be like that now. We're going to go back on the road. You're going to be on a plane. You're going to go to hotels. You have to deal with the possibility of COVID being a problem. We're just going through all of the protocols again, at the stadium here to make sure that we can get through this thing, in a manner where we don't lose players. So we're now heading into different territory. But I think when you got a team that's intact and together and knows each other and trusts one another, then it'll be easier to be able to get back, on that horse and get to an NBA schedule. I don't know how many fans are going to be in the stands. I've heard there could be 25 or 50%, but I think they're going to try to do something, but it could be something that there might not be fans, but I think we're ready for it.
Okay, Coach, and our last question will be from Ira Winderman.
So I'll make it last questions. A couple of things on bookkeeping. Has Kelly Olynyk formally informed the team of whether he is opting into his contract?
We have not had any indication yet.
Okay. You have two players restricted 2 ways. Are you extending qualifying offers to Gabe Vincent and to Kyle Alexander?
We haven't really discussed that yet.
Okay. And one other thing, we talk about this every year, Pat. You always say if we are a contending team, Mickey Arison will spend into the luxury tax. But I know the economy has changed for the whole world. Do you still stand by that? Is there a chance that this team go into tax, or are there too many ancillary factors that maybe were once contend tax, maybe now that equation has changed? Thank you.
Well, I think, Mickey has always been, somebody who will spend whatever it takes to win a championship when he knows he has a great chance to win a championship. What happened with us in the bubble and coming up 2 games short, of winning a title against the Lakers, was a great, great year for us. And, as we sit right now, I think we're significantly under the tax. And so I don't foresee us having to go into the tax, but you never know what can happen. You just don't know. I mean, you take a look at some of these trades that are being made, and some of the contracts that are being moved around, that one trade, one contract could take you there, but it better be one that can get you into the finals. So Mickey will always, I think, spend, and I think you're right about the ancillary issues that are going on here. We have to be very mindful of the fact that we lost a lot of the season last year. This year, we're only going to play 72 games. Your gate and having a full house is meaningful. And so when revenues go down, it doesn't mean that it's going to stop us being competitive in from that standpoint. But I think for the most part, our owner is totally committed to winning big time. I think he had more fun than he's ever had, watching this team, up in the bubble. And like me, both of us were very disappointed, when we couldn't win. So, we're on that track again, Ira, to try to win a championship. So we're going to do whatever we can to do that.
Okay, Coach, thank you for your time. And just as a matter of housekeeping, everybody, we will have Precious available this evening, or this morning, I should say. Hopefully, as soon as 15 minutes, Nick will send out another email. It will be the same link, but with a different time. So just be on the lookout for that. All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Nice from now, all you guys. Okay. And I'll see you. You take care.